Hello everybody, welcome back to another light novel review. Today I'm talking about the light novel Sound Euphonium. Welcome to the Kitauji High School Concert Band, this one by Ayano Takeda. Now, this series started in December of 2013. There have been this novel plus two immediate sequels to this novel have been released, and then there is a book of short stories, and then there are three spin-off novels that have been released. And it's also been announced that there are going to be two additional sequel novels that are going to focus on the main characters later in their high school career. Today, though, I'm talking only about this volume, and I've been unable to confirm exactly whether Yen-On is licensing like all of the Sound Euphonium books or whether they are just putting out this one as a test. I'm not too sure. I kind of tweeted out at them and asked them because depending on what source you look at, it's a little bit nebulous, but I haven't heard back from them. So for now, let's assume that we're only getting this one unless it's a success. And I really hope it is a success because I really liked this book. So if you're not familiar with this series, it focuses on main character Kumiko, who is just starting high school. Now, when she was in middle school, she was in the concert band and she played euphonium. And at the end of her middle school time, they went to nationals. Well, not to nationals. They went to sort of their regional finals. They got a gold, but they did not progress on to nationals. And Kumiko was okay with that. But one of the girls that she was sort of friends with, Reina, who was a trumpet player, was really broken up, and because she was like, this isn't good enough, we should have kept going, we could have done better. And Kumiko sort of felt a bit of guilt about the fact that she didn't really care that much about the whole thing. So as she enters into high school, she's not too sure whether she's going to join band, but through pressure from some newfound friends, she does decide to join the band, and we find out that this is actually a bit of a personality trait of hers, that she can be fairly easily swayed. And the rest of this book is about the band, the Kitauji High School's concert band, which has lapsed into complete disarray, and basically how these new students and a new director kind of come together to try and give the band purpose and direction and try to make them be their absolute best and to potentially chase that elusive spot at nationals. Now, I'm going to say something right up front, and I told you all this if you watched my ReZero review when I told you I was going to read this book. I was really big into music. I went to a school of the arts for music. I actually have a Bachelor of Fine Arts in music. So this book really hit close to home. And, it's kind of funny how you read books, and if a book is really good, it hits you in all sorts of different places. You have the warm feelings that you get from some of the nostalgia of it all, and sometimes, and particularly in my experience with music, you kind of get into that bit of remorse and those feelings of things left undone and things that you wish you had, either roads you had taken or roads that you did not. I thought that this book was a really great slice of life novel. And as again, I'm saying I am a little bit lacking in terms of objective points of view here because of my close proximity to the subject matter, but I couldn't help but enjoy it. I couldn't help but enjoy getting to know these characters. I couldn't help but enjoy how this thing called music ended up giving sort of direction and form to friendships and to even senses of self throughout the novel. And I really think that even if you're not into music, there's certainly a lot to enjoy in this book. And I mean, I think that a lot of the things that this speaks to, obviously, when it's speaking specifically about the experience of performing music, maybe it's a little bit not as relatable, but in terms of just about any kind of activity, whether it be a sport, whether it be art, when it talks about things about the effort that you put into it, when it talks about how you can achieve a point where finally everything just falls together. And it's really applicable to a lot of those things, anything really that you put effort and dedication and passion into. So I think there's a lot of relatable points in this. Now, I haven't done any in-depth research on Miss Takeda, who wrote the book, but it's clear to me from reading it that she must have been in band, whether it was through all of her sort of middle school, high school career, whether it was something she continued on beyond that, I don't know. But her descriptions, like this book, now, I mean, this book we could refer to as being, it's sort of one of those books that's on the cusp of whether it's a light novel or just a novel. One of the things that you may immediately notice when you pick up the book is that there are no interior illustration whatsoever. The only illustration in the entire book is the front and back cover. That's it. There's no interior illustrations. Most sites that you will read about this book refer to it as a novel, not necessarily as a light novel series. So, but it's dealing with high school. It's dealing with that whole sort of young adult type aspect of the teenage years and that awkwardness of meeting new people, that awkwardness of starting to grow older and seeing people that you've known since childhood begin to enter into adulthood, seeing how they change, feeling changes within yourself. It deals with all of these things. And the music, in a sense, is sort of like the metaphorical background to the personal changes, the way that the whole idea of putting effort into practice, the whole idea of it becoming feeling more natural, that feeling of when it's just right, it seems so easy and you can almost feel like you're being swept away in it. All of those things can be really applied to that whole journey of discovering of yourself. And I really think that the insights were great in terms of both the music and the characters. And as I was saying this, with this, you know, her descriptions of playing, her descriptions of being a part of a band, they are, I think that they're told in a straight ahead and yet meaningful way that you will be able to relate and understand them even if you weren't in a music setting at all in your life. But for a guy who was a major, you know, band dude, band geek, band nerd, we had all sorts of names for ourselves. It really spoke to me. Like I understood, you know, I felt that moment when the band would have those glimmers of improvements. I understood and knew intimately what that felt like to have those moments where even just tuning a couple of instruments and where you would resonate so well together that you would hear overtones in the air that no one had actually played, but they were just naturally occurring because of the instruments blending so well in that moment. I mean, like I said, it's really hard for me to be objective about this book because I really, really felt this one on an emotional level. It brought a lot of memories back to me. I have not, I played saxophone when when I did music. I have not touched my saxophone in probably 10 years. I mean, it sits in a closet, unfortunately, collecting dust. And it's just something that I haven't returned to. And reading a book like this, it makes me sort of remember why I loved it. And it also makes me think about why I went some wrong ways and lost touch with it. So Sound Euphonium works in a lot of different ways for me as a reader because it does hit me on those nostalgia levels. It does speak to me at a personal level, but I can also appreciate it as a reader because it's very much driven by these characters and these characters and their growth, these characters that, you know, have sort of things behind their looks and their glances, and there's these depths to their personalities that start coming out progressively as we go through the book. You know, there's all sorts of things that happen in here that I'd love to use as illustrations, but again, I really do try to keep things spoiler free. I will say that initially the book I felt a little slow getting into it. It wasn't until about, I guess, 30 pages in, where the concert band really comes face to face with Mr. Taki, who is their new conductor, and what he does at their first performance, just it from that point forward, I was hooked. I was hooked on this novel. I couldn't put it down. I really wanted to know where the journey was going to go for these characters. I wanted to know who these characters were, and I wanted to know what the story was behind their behaviors and behind the things that they said. And, you know, to a certain extent, I'm still not satisfied that I know everything or all the backstory about some of these characters, but I don't know, like in a way I don't feel dissatisfied with that. It almost just feels like, well, that's life, right? We don't always get to know everything intimately about a person that we may want. This novel does stand on its own, so even if we don't get any further books in the Sound Euphonium series, I don't think that should discourage you from picking it up. It stands really well on its own. It is a really well done slice of life. It's got some very nice writing in it, some really good imagery. Yen on this one did some pretty good jobs. There weren't half as many little annoying typos and stuff that I found in some of their other books. I won't say it's 100% perfect, but it avoids being more noticeable than any other book. It is done well. And like I said, even just the level of writing, there's a bit more. Maybe it's because it's so focused on music and on an art form, it's much more evocative in its language. It's not quite as blunt as some light novels are that I've reviewed lately. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed this book. I don't know what else to say. It's a great slice of life. It's great with its characters. If you've loved music, if you've been part particularly of a band, like a concert band in a school setting, you'll get this. You'll understand like the everything from the friendships to the infighting to the jealousy to the joy. You'll get it. And all those things work on just a human level too. And like I said, can be applicable to pretty much anything that involves teams, whether it be sports, whether it be what have you. I mean, you'll be able to get that, I think, emotional touch out of this. Now, for those of you thinking that this may be a bit of a Yuri fest, it's really not. The relationships, you know, I was kind of taken aback by them a little bit, I have to admit. Like, I thought in this one, the relationships seemed very well fleshed out and very real. It wasn't like anything was really forced. It wasn't like the relationships seemed unnatural. Each of the relationships, whether they were friendships, whether it was a bit of a budding romance, whether it was even just a, you know, I feel something for you, but I'm not sure where the realm of that goes. It all felt very natural. It all felt really well done and just added to the story in a lot of great ways. Sound Euphonium, I loved it. I really did. I absolutely loved it. But like I said, it completely assaulted me in all of my nostalgic ways. And it kind of, yeah, I couldn't get enough of it. I really, really hope that we get more of this series. I would love to read more of it. A slice of life, really well done. And yeah, that's all I've got to say about Sound Euphonium. You think I liked it? I mean, yeah, I think I've pretty much made that statement pretty clear. So to do something completely different, my next book, actually, I feel pretty lucky. I was Bookwalker Global. If you recall, in my upcoming light novels for July, I was talking that Bookwalker, it is a supplier of ebooks like manga and light novels in Japan, and they have opened up an English language side. They have licensed their first exclusive light novel, and that is The Combat Baker and Automaton Waitress. They were kind enough to reach out to me and offer me a copy for review. No other money was exchanged. This one will be, of course, as per usual, my own personal thoughts and opinions. But it was really awesome for Bookwalker to reach out and give me a copy. And to be honest, I would have bought it anyway. But but it's nice to be able to get the odd book for free to review for you guys. So that's going to be my next review. Yeah. I just feel like I'm blubbering because I got so like worked up emotionally about Sound Euphonium. Wow. I don't think I should watch the anime. I might just freaking cry. Who knows? Anyway, so that's my review for this video. If you're brand new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe so you can check out all of my future light novel reviews, including that upcoming one with the Combat Baker and Automaton Waitress. Thank you for joining me in this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Till then, bye-bye for now.